Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood, on this Thursday, March 7th. It's just me today because Josh and his wife are expecting a newborn anytime. Could be now, could be in a few hours. So from all of us here in the Upshot family, we wish Josh and his wife all the best as they welcome a new little one into the world. We've got a kind of a rapid fire preview show today for the WACO Annual Charity Open, which actually starts today. Now, if you're used to WACO in the past, you know it's been a 3-round event starting on Fridays. However, they've made it an Elite Plus this year. This is the first Elite Plus of the season. That means 25% more points on the line than a typical DGPT event. And they've added a new course, Lake Waco. It's a temp course built on a ball golf track. Pretty typical stuff from the Pro Tour when they're looking to add spectators. You know, we've seen this event sell out in the past, so they've expanded in order to be able to accommodate more people. We'll talk a little bit more about the course a little later in the show. To try something a little different today, I sat through the entire press conference and I clipped out what I thought were the most interesting things to talk about. So here are some clips. Of course, the big headline, as we mentioned on Tuesday, this will be the debut of Kristin Tattar for this 2024 season. She skipped the chess.com Invitational, but she's over in the U.S. She's ready to play. She won this event last year after Ella Hansen blew a lead late in the final round. Kristin hit some huge clutch putts down the stretch and took it down. So we'll see what she can do this year. Here's Kristin from the press conference talking a little bit about what her off-season focus was, as well as her goal setting for this 2024 season. Take a listen.
Nothing from the game side of things. I think, like I said before, I was sort of like zooming out and seeing the bigger picture and what I could possibly do with my career, and that was like hiring a manager and bringing in new sponsorships, and that was kind of the focus in that half season. But I continued to do the work which I have always been doing, and hopefully it carries me through the season. I used to be a huge goal person, setting goals and achieving them, and it's a good method to achieve what you really want and go after your dreams. But again, I feel like I have reached to a point in my life where I understand that there is only a present moment, and it's not worth like putting too many goals and pressure on yourself. It's about just enjoying life and accepting what is given to you, and also I know that whatever is meant to happen with me will happen, and what I want wants me even more. So I just have to be open to receive it. So that's something that I live by.
It's certainly been quite the off season for Kristin. You may have seen over on Instagram, she just posted that she's now signed as an athlete by essentially the Nike Europe. There's like a company that gets to promote Nike in Estonia. She's signed by them. I have seen some rumors that they're really trying to push Kristin over in Europe as like one of the major faces of Nike. And I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's easy to see why. Disc golf, super fast growing sport. She's an incredible competitor, right? She feels like she fits as a Nike ad, right? You can visualize the Nike ad with her in it. So, what an amazing time it's been for her. As she mentioned, she has a new manager. I've actually emailed with her manager a few times, and I think this is the future for the top level players. You know, some of them already have a manager to an extent, but you know, like if we want to request an interview with Kristin, now we've talked to her manager, and she shouldn't be having to field personal requests to, for instance, come on a podcast. So I think this is an obvious step for somebody at her level, and she's signed more sponsorships in the last 6 months than the rest of disc golf players combined over the last 12 months. I don't even know if that's an exaggeration. So we'll see how she plays. It's she kind of looked a little bit rusty, I guess was what the word I would use, at the beginning of last season, which is understandable. She's barely playing outside. So we'll see how sharp she looks at Waco and how she handles the new Lake Waco course as well. Next, Big Jerm, who has won this event twice, was interviewed during the press conference, and he got asked a question by Nate Perkins about potentially, phasing out of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Here's what he said.
Those guys that are on the course right now practicing, they just keep getting younger and younger and better. So they're kind of forcing me out in some ways. I mean, I'm still holding my own. My rating really hasn't changed in 12 to 15 years, but what 10-20 golf gets you over the course of 3 to 4 rounds on tour is different than what it used to be 5-6 years ago. And so, part of it is the competition. It's hard to keep up. I've got to work twice as hard just to stay in the same spot. And the other thing is I'm so enticed. I love doing the media stuff. I love doing commentary. I love being a host, just a personality in the sport. And I love being an ambassador and growing the sport outside of the course. So for me, it's really, I get to enjoy that more when I focus more on it. But also I'm getting older, dude. My body's breaking down. Like I got a sore shoulder right now. And, I've got to limit my practice this week going into an event that I feel really comfortable at. It's just, there's a lot of different things that play into that. And, you have to be truthful with yourself. Like you want to be competitive. And when you're not competitive, you got to start thinking all right, man, I'm eligible to play Masters next year.
So there's Big Jerm talking about getting older and maybe thinking about Masters and, very realistic assessment of where he is, I think. Here's something fun. Ricky talking about when he was hosting players during the Memorial at his house in Arizona, that there was a private chef there to cook them all dinner. Check it out.
Yeah, shout out to Donald. He's a up-and-coming chef. Not really up-and-coming. He's developed a big following in Phoenix, and he's a very good chef. He runs a restaurant, Valentine, in Phoenix. But I've been giving him lessons. So he traded disc golf lessons for him to come over and cook. We had prime rib, asparagus, and this citrus salad that he makes is one of his specialty dishes. And so he came over and cooked all that in return for my lessons. So it's awesome to do what I do best and give disc golf knowledge, and he comes over and pays me back in food. So it's a great trade-off.
So Ricky is trading disc golf lessons for home-cooked meals by a private chef. That seems like a great trade-off to such an extent that I feel like the private chef is getting a bad deal. But hey, that's pretty cool. Disc golfers should be looking to trade lessons for all kinds of stuff, free lawn service, goods and just various goods and services. Find the best barber in your city, convince him to play disc golf, and then be like, hey, a year of haircuts for 6 weeks of lessons. All right. Last one I got for you. Here's Paige Pierce on her expectations heading into Waco.
To cash. Last year I didn't cash, and that's just man, the beast got me. So that's the number one goal. And, last week I got 10th, and I feel better than I did last week or, last event. So hopefully, break into that top 10, 8th, 7th. If I win, that would be amazing. But, yeah, I think, I'm capable if I stay away from bogeys, which I think my biggest thing I need to do this week to do that is play golf and stop throwing the shot. That seems more fun. Golf's not fun, but if I want to get a better placement, I got to do it.
So there you go. Paige needs to play golf. Take a little page out of the Simon book. Can she do that? And how will Paige look on a kind of more traditional long golf course? That's going to be a big question. That was obviously an area where she was able to really separate herself from most of the FPO field. Is she going to be looking more average now with her reduced distance? And as other players have really expanded their repertoire in terms of being able to throw further, we will find out this weekend. So that's the best clips from the press conference that's 2.5 hours rolled down into those clips. So let us know if you enjoyed this. Shoot us an email, upshot@ultiworld.com. Do you want to see more like this? One little note before we take a quick break. Microsoft Teams is now presenting the Preserve. They are a sponsor for the Preserve. This was just announced by the DGPT. And kind of a cool rollout here. They basically made, so Teams is like Slack, if you're not aware, right? Essentially, it's Slack. So it's a chatting app where you can make threads and have conversation, kind of like Discord or any of these other styles of apps. So they made a disc golf community Teams chat, and there's a bunch of pro players in there. So if you go to the DGPT website, you can find the link. You can sign up for Teams. You can get in there. I downloaded it on my phone. It's pretty cool. Like, you got players, saying, hey, wow, this is sweet. And like, you're seeing the pros that they're doing a Q&A with Anthony Barella to kind of kick things off. And they've got a couple more of these scheduled in the future. Whether this is a thing that really lasts and becomes like a hub of conversation, I'm a little skeptical. Like, are you really going to be able to convince pros that are not being sort of like required to do a Q&A to be like randomly posting in this essentially semi-public group chat? I doubt it, but let's find out. And certainly, if you want to zoom out, the bigger story here, Microsoft Teams sponsoring a disc golf tournament, is pretty cool. Like, that's, we're seeing some legit bigger sponsors starting to get involved in disc golf. And I've heard, when Jeff Spring was on here, he basically insinuated that they had some big deals to come later this season, maybe for the Pro Tour Championship. So that's going to be really fascinating to watch how that plays out. So cool for the Preserve. Congrats to Kale LaVisca and crew over there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more Waco breakdown and picks coming your way. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Head over to pounddiscgolf.com to check out a new drop. They've got a 3-color breakup Octothorpe in charcoal, coyote, and brown bear. Brown bear is a great name for a color. If you're checking it out on YouTube, look at this beautiful bag. It is awesome. They got Octothorpes. They also got smaller bags. I use a Rufus, so if you want something a little bit smaller that still holds plenty of discs, I highly recommend a Rufus. I've been loving mine. And so get over to pounddiscgolf.com, check out all of their bags. They really are top in the sport. You buy it once, buy it for life. Guaranteed for life. pounddiscgolf.com. The Upshot is presented by Sunset Lake CBD, a employee-owned hemp farm located right outside of Burlington, Vermont. They believe in providing only top-shelf CBD and hemp products at fair prices with no middleman, so you really get the best deal. And if you use code UPSHOT, you'll save 20% off your order. So if you go over to sunsetlakecbd.com, you can check out all of their range of products, including some great gummies. They have ones that are, almost entirely CBD, but a very small amount of THC. So you don't get inebriated, but you do get a little bit of like a body buzz that is just a great way to relax in the evening. So maybe if you're new to the world of CBD, you could check that out. And again, Upshot saves you 20% off. Farmer-owned, Vermont-grown, Sunset Lake CBD. Welcome back to the Upshot. It's been 5 years since Paul McBeth shot an 18 under at Waco. Now, a lot of pars have changed since then. A couple of holes have changed since then. Not quite the 18 under that he shot at D-Glow that got its own ESPN segment, by the way. But it was still a pretty incredible round, finishing up with the eagle on the very soft par 4 18th, now par 3. But he missed. He got the eagle and he got one par. So kind of the not quite perfect round, but still an 18 under. McBeth has always been very good here, And we'll see how he does this year. What's the status of his injury? Are we going to see more of what we saw at chess.com, which was him not looking particularly sharp and missing the cash line? So that's going to be a big question mark. Also important to note, maybe a last-ditch effort here for you if you're playing some sort of fantasy game. Calvin Heimberg has dropped from the event. He posted late last night on Instagram that due to the elbow injury that was limiting him last event at chess.com, he's not going to be playing this weekend. So he couldn't throw forehands at chess, didn't quite look right, and clearly has decided that it's not healthy enough for him to play this weekend. So he's out. He's the most notable absence this weekend. Otherwise, all the big heavy hitters are here, including, of course, Kristen Tattar. So some nuts and bolts here. The Beast is going to be used in rounds 1 and 3, and this new Lake Waco course will be played for rounds 2 and 4. There were a lot of questions and discussion in the press conferences yesterday from players who seemed annoyed that they were going to have to play the final round over at this new course. It's a par 64, 10,514 foot course for MPO, par 66, 9,400 feet for FPO. So it's long, but it's not the longest. It's not, this is not OTB Open. Other things we've heard from players, it's a temp course and it's full temp tee pads. And apparently the tee pads are horrendous because, Nate Perkins probably asked every player about the tee pads. And when you hear something like that, even when there's not an explicit, like, these tee pads are awful, that is the implication of questions like that. So far, it seems like the reviews are a little mixed on this course. It's going to be hard, I think, for this to go great at Lake Waco. There's probably going to be some interesting shots. We're going to talk about one hole in particular in a second, but this is just another ball golf course that's been kind of slapdash together in order to accommodate more spectators. And I get it to an extent. You're leaving money on the table if you can't have enough people there on Sunday, but we're not going to be able to finish the tournament at the Beast and those amazing holes down the stretch. 17 and 18 at the Beast are probably two of the most amazing finishing holes on tour. 17 is the long shot. It's a par 4. You go out to kind of like a landing zone, and then you have to throw with water on the left side down to the green. That's where Valerie Mondahano threw her incredible upshot that sealed her win here 2 years ago. It's a fabulous hole. And then, of course, 18 is the huge water carry hole where you can either go for it or you can lay up. And, we've seen some big drama on those holes historically. So we're not going to get that for the final round. Instead, we're going to be at this Lake Waco course, which, I don't know, it's probably going to feel pretty ho-hum. And I'm not super excited about it in the same way that I'm never super excited about these ball golf kind of like, let's just create an open course entirely to accommodate spectators. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe in the future, they'll have more time to put in, more permanent tee pads and clean up some of the holes that aren't that great. But Open at Austin last year. Like, how many times have we seen this? And it's mostly been pretty underwhelming. I don't know that this is a great spot for the Pro Tour to be in year after year. Hopefully, we can start to see the development of properties where you're creating an open layout that's actually a disc golf course and can accommodate spectators and feature beautiful course and great golf. So hopefully we get there. I'm not sure Lake Waco is going to be that. But the Beast, on the other hand, is, it's a tour staple. I think Waco's been on the Pro Tour since the start. And the Beast is just a classic park style course. They've maximized the land that they have. You can't really make that many changes, although they did drop that hole that had all the fence line and the electric boxes along the fairway. And they got rid of it. They created a new par 3. Old hole 16 is now hole 15. There's a new par 3 along the water. and then you play 17 and 18. So first change in a few years on the beast. And of course, there's some classic moments here. 3 of the top 6 lowest rated winners at DGPT events of all time came at Waco. Colton Montgomery won in 2020 in the 2-round shortened event due to COVID. And Jeremy Colling won in 2017 and 2018. And, if Josh were here, he might say the word fluky. He might. Whether you actually think it's fluky or not, this has been subject to much discussion. But what I do think it is a course that does not require overwhelming distance in order to be competitive. You need to be able to throw accurate shots on different kinds of holes. And there are holes where having high power is a huge advantage, and can get you birdies where other players have to settle for par. So it's a great course because it really challenges players on backhands, forehands, distance, accuracy, lots of different kinds of holes. It's just a very memorable course as well. And we've always seen fabulous turnout. I checked ticket sales. It looked like most tickets were either almost sold out or were in fact sold out. So I think we're going to see big crowds again this weekend, and should be a great event. I think that's likely one of the big reasons that this tournament has been upgraded to Elite Plus. They've never really had the biggest payout. In fact, in many years, Waco's had one of the smaller payouts on tour, but the in-person spectating has been huge here. A lot of enthusiasm. And so I think that's why you're seeing this get the bump up to Elite Plus. What else to know? Oh, I mentioned hole 17 at Lake Waco. Take a look if you're watching on YouTube. So what's interesting about this hole, you have the green tucked right between an OB golf green on the left side and water on the right side. And you're kind of water carrying the whole way. So the thing is, if you want to throw a backhand as a right-handed player, you're going to have to either hang it out way over the water or risk taking a skip onto the OB green. And if you want to throw a forehand, you got to make sure you control the skip and don't go into the water. And it's like edge of the circle is OB left and OB right. So there is not a lot of room. And, I think we're going to see some cool shots. We might see players try to throw straight at it with a really straight disc. And so I pretty much every player was like, hole 17, awesome hole. So that should be a fun one to check out at this new course. And we'll see how the rest of it plays. I asked somebody, how it's looking, and they said there's a lot of cool lines that are breakable with overhead shots. So we might see, people throwing grenades and stuff up into the air to try to go up and over trees, because it's not the longest layout, especially on their like more technical par 3s in the woods. So going to be, we'll all learn together on this one. So that's the deal. We are going to make some picks real quick. Josh sent me his picks before the show, and so I will read those off to you right now. In MPO, Josh has Kyle Klein, last year's champion, finishing in 3rd place. He's got Ricky Wysocki in 2nd, and he is going with Gannon Burr to take it down. Man, I thought about Gannon Burr too, but then I looked last year and saw that he finished 24th. Who knows what's going to happen, but is this the course for Gannon? The Beast is an interesting course because some players just don't play well here. And others seem to play well here every year. So Gannon Burr, one of those guys that has, historically not been like a killer at Waco. So we'll see how he handles this time around. Just to note, he was 25th here in 2022. New bag. Maybe he's ready to roll. For FPO, Josh has Missy Gannon in 3rd place. Last year's runner-up, Ella Hansen, in 2nd place, and last year's winner, Kristen Tattar, in 1st place. So Josh is going straight back to it. Kristen for the dub. Hard to blame him. All right. For my FPO picks, I actually have Kristen finishing in third place. I'm going to say that she looks a little bit more like she did last year, and other players are already looking pretty sharp. So I've got Kristen in third. She's a kind of a lock to be a podium finisher. But I have Ella Hansen finishing in front of her in second place, but still not getting that dub. Maybe this is the year, but not yet. Evelina Salonen is my pick. This is the tournament from last year where I remember every tee shot from Evelina was immaculate, and she couldn't putt at all. And she literally finished like comfortably first in strokes gained tee to green and dead last in strokes gained putting. But what did we see at chess.com? We saw an Evelina who looked competent with the putter, who looked confident with the putter. So I'm going to say this is a perfect spot. By the way, this is where she won on tour back in 2019. She won at Waco. So we know she can play well here. And she looked fantastic throwing the disc here last year. And I think she's going to be well suited to the Lake Waco layout. Plenty of power. Not a problem for Evelina. So I've got Salonen going back to back to start this season. And I kind of just want the narrative. It would be really something if she came out and went 2-0 to start and beat Kristen this time. On the MPO side, I've got Kyle Klein, last year's winner, in third place, just like Josh. I have kind of a sneaky pick here in the second place spot. I'm going to go with Kevin Jones. Kevin has been good at Waco in the past. Last year, he was fifth. And I like his chances, especially with the layout at Lake Waco, with overhead type shots. He is really good at that stuff. I think that this could be kind of like a bounce back Kevin Jones weekend that we haven't seen in a long time. So he is my pick for second place. And I've been really going back and forth about first place. There's a bunch of players I've had here kind of as options in my mind. And I think I'm going to go with Cole Redolin. And I just think that, so Cole was third here last year. He finished 3 shots behind Klein and 1 shot back of Adam Hammes in second place. And I don't know, this is just kind of like a gut feeling pick. I just feel like we're going to see some surprises this year. And I think Cole winning this early in the season would be at least a little bit of a surprise, even if he's now clearly established himself as someone who can win on tour. So those are my picks in the books. And we hope that you will make your picks. If you become an Ultiworld Disc Golf subscriber, you can go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks and make your own picks and follow along and see if you can beat me and Josh throughout the season. You can also just go there and check it out if you're not a subscriber yet. But we hope you join the Discord, get access to all of our bonus segments. Of course, we'll be back Sunday night for our Rapid React show for Waco. And I don't think Josh will be there, but maybe we'll get a surprise guest or two. So otherwise, it'll be me talking with you about all things Waco and how it went for the first Elite Plus of the season. So for Josh Mansfield, and I am Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.